Hi, this is Raymond Stable and DragonBlogger.com. Outside enjoying a great day. We're going to talk about a tire pressure monitoring system by a company named SNAN, S-N-A-N, or it could be SNAN. I'm not sure exactly how they pronounce it. In the box, this is what it looks like. You have 4 sensors. These go on the valve stems of your tires. You take the existing valve stem caps off and you screw these on just like a valve stem cap would be. In fact, they replace the cap. Just prior to screwing those on, you place one of these brass colored hex nuts in place. The O-rings are there for when you have to change the batteries. This comes with 2 tools. This one is to assist you in putting the hex nuts into place. On my particular car, I was not able to use them because the way my wheels are, I just couldn't get that in there. And once I do figure out how to get this out, this is a tool that then you use to change out your batteries. I would suggest that you keep all of this in the pouch until you need them, and keep them where you can find them, because eventually you're going to have to change the batteries out. Installation on these was a snap. It was very, very quick and easy. I found that it didn't take me long to get my son to screw in the hex nuts for me and to put the caps into place. One thing you will note, if you look at it, and maybe there, you can see that says RF. For example, this one says, let me get to it, LF. Each one of them has a numeric sequence there: right front, right rear, left rear, so that you get them in the right place. Once you've gotten that into place and you've plugged this in, expect to wait a couple of minutes. It's not going to come on right away. The correct way to plug this in is that this end here is going to be facing the driver's side, at least here in America, so it's going to be facing to the left. That way when you read it, you'll read the numbers that it displays upside right. Otherwise it'll be upside down to you. It took, oh gosh, maybe 2 minutes for it to get its initial communications set up between the tire caps and the plug. Once that happened, numbers started showing up. You have the choice between changing from PSI, which is what we use, and another setting. Let me see what that was called. Bells, I believe it is, which is something more commonly used, or bars, I'm sorry, like millibars, that kind of thing. So you can choose PSI, pounds per square inch, or bars, and you can make adjustments to these things. You can have it set up to alarm when there's certain temperature settings set up, when there's certain pressure settings are read, or you just simply set it up and monitor what it happens to show you. I never know what tire pressure I have. I never know whether my tires are set up to the right pressure. Sometimes you start to drive and you notice after you've been driving for a while that something seems a little bit off, but you've got to go find a tire pressure gauge, or you got to go to the gas station and hope they have one built into the end of the air compressor hose that they've got. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, sometimes they don't work, even if they do have them. With this, I can drive around, look at my tires, okay, everything's reading just exactly where they're supposed to, and I'm fine. If I happen to notice something sluggish, I'm going to already notice it on the gauge there, and it'll say, oh, this one's really off compared to the rest of them. I live out in the country, and something like this is a great tool to have, because I've picked up spare nails all the time, and it's not until a week or 2 weeks later, or sometimes a few days later, depending on how long things go, that my tire is completely flat, and I didn't know it until it went completely flat. With something like this, I can be alerted to the fact that I have rapidly leaking amounts of air coming out of one tire, I'll know exactly which tire it is. I won't have to guess at which tire it is, and I'll know exactly where to go to get it taken care of right away. Hey, sorry about that. We had the trash truck come by, and that's kind of noisy sometimes. Anyway, this piece goes into your cigarette lighter, and this is what you're going to actually use to see what your tire pressure is. There, you can hear it in the background. Now when you're putting this in, you're going to put this in so that the squared off or slightly rounded end is going to go to the left. That way when you read it, it's going to be able to be read properly. Underneath this, there's a little button. There we go. You can see it right there. And this is so you can switch modes and change settings that you might want to change. Now when you install this, inside the box also came a bag with hex nuts and also O-rings. The hex nuts are used to place on the valve stem prior to screwing on the sensor, and if you need to, there's a tool there to help you tighten those into place. I didn't use mine because my tires are made in such a way that that would have been impractical. And then there's a tool here that is used for changing out the batteries. Now beyond that, I'm not sure that there's anything else this does. It lets you open up the equipment so that you can get to the batteries. Okay, installation of this was very, very easy. It didn't take long for my son to be able to screw the hex nuts into place and put the valve stem covers on there. I had him do that for me simply because I have a little bit of a disability, and so doing that bending and doing that job was a little bit difficult. Now we're going to take, and I'm unplugging a battery, we're going to take a short little trip and go over to where my car is. So here we go. And what I want to do is I want to show you at least one tire with the valve stem cover into place, or the valve sensor into place. And there it is. Was not hard to put into place. And in just a second, give me a moment here to get inside and sit down. And I'm going to unplug a USB. Okay, if you notice there were 3 36s and 1 35. That's expected. Those are the pounds per square inch right now. I was out driving earlier, so as we drive around, friction creates heat. Heat creates an increase in pressure, and so the tires are reading at different levels right now, but they're close to what they are normally at, which is 35. That I'm not alarmed in any way, shape, or form, and neither is the device. There are alarms to let you know if there are problems. The book, the manual will detail those. You can make adjustments to some things depending on where you're at, as to whether you want to have higher or lower settings on things. From what I've seen, this responds very, very well. It keeps me a constant appraisal of what my pressure readings are. It also happens to have a nice USB plug there so that I'm not solely restricted to having that and that alone inside of my connector here. I can actually have other things connected in there and be able to use, a cell phone being charged up at the same time I'm monitoring my tire pressure. I really like this device. I can see it being something that will come in handy. You never know when you're going to pick up a spare nail or a bolt or something like that stuck inside your tire. It's always nice to know when you've got a leak happening before it goes flat completely, so you can avoid being in the wrong place at the wrong time with a flat tire. For DragonBlogger.com, this is Raymond Stapleton wishing you a great evening and even better tomorrow. Good night.